All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to GateCrashers. I am Vinny. I am joined by Angela, Kim, and special guest Ryan, who is joining us for the first time as we talk all about Beyond the Gates here on GateCrashers. And folks, how are you? How was your week?
Week's going pretty good so far, considering it's Monday, it's early. We'll see how the rest of it goes. But
I know, right?
watched some very very good, very sad, very poignant soap opera today. So you know,
Yeah,
watched
Days has been
getting all
killing
caught up
it.
on Days today was a bit of a heartbreaker. So
GH has been killing it. Everything's killing it. Everything's killing it. I mean,
yep.
GH Days and Beyond the Gates are killing it. We'll say that.
Yes,
How about that?
yes.
That's a good way of putting it, Angela.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, my mother said, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all. So we'll just leave it there, I guess.
Ryan, how are you? Welcome to Gatecrashers.
Yeah,
Thank
Ryan, it's
you.
nice to
Thank
be able to
you.
chat with you.
It's nice to be able to chat with you too. I am familiar with Angela. We go back, so it's nice to see you again.
And
Thank you so much for having me. I'm doing okay. It's Monday. We're the face of the Monday sometimes, but um, it's good to be joining you guys. So thank you.
Absolutely.
sure,
Well,
can't wait to hear your thoughts on
yeah.
our.
Beyond the Gates coming out, like a house of fire over the past, number of months since it debuted. Big news, though, coming out of the Beyond the Gates camp. Bob Guza, one of the
Yes.
founders, has left the show, which really isn't a big news story because, honestly, he was there just to help get it started.
Right.
But they did name a new executive producer. I can't remember her name off the top of my head, so
Tracy Thompson.
Tracy Thompson. Okay, thank you. What are some of her what has she worked on that we would know her from? I personally haven't heard that name before.
So she used to work at General Hospital. I'm mainly familiar with her work from All My Children.
Okay.
She's
Oh,
a really talented writer. She
when
has
was she
gone
on
on
AMC? What years for AMC?
mid 2000s, so like maybe '06 to like '09, something
Oh,
around that
so when
time.
that was when I was, yeah, I grew up on All My Children, but that was when I was really like a diehard fan, that era of it. So, wow, that's really really cool. It's good information.
Yeah, she's really talented. She went on to create some show, like a show, I think, for like a Disney Channel or Disney Junior or something like that. So she's a really talented writer. She's a really talented creator, and I can't wait to see what she brings to the show.
Yeah. No, absolutely. And like I've been telling people, it's not as some people had been putting it out that he was jumping off the ship because it was he wasn't happy or whatever. He was probably just there with Michelle Valjean
He had
just
a
to get it
short-term
started.
contract. He came out of retirement to do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
He's scurrying back to retirement where he wanted to be. He had a short-term contract. It was just to help launch the show.
Yeah.
hmm.
But you know what? It has been great. And the one thing that we were talking about before we even got on uh, was Anita's secret. Now, Tamara Tooney said in an interview that it's something new to daytime that daytime has never experienced before, but
And none of us can think of what that
we
could
can't
possibly
figure it out. Ryan, what are your thoughts on Anita's secret?
Oh, I can't comment on that because I actually know what the secret is.
Oh,
Oh, okay.
Uh, but
All right.
it's gonna be good.
I
All
I'm
mean,
right.
I'm
hoping
just
that it's that
already,
Leslie
yeah, the
is her daughter.
anticipation's killing me.
Oh, you guys were both talking at the same time.
Sorry.
So
You go first, Kim.
Kim, you go first.
Oh no, I was just saying the anticipation for it's killing me, especially with all the buildup that we got in today's episode. Just they're setting the tone for something really big, and I'm very very curious. 'Cause normally I'm good at kind of like predicting, kind of seeing, but I genuinely I have no idea where it's going to go, and that's exciting. That's fun. So
Angela?
Yeah, I'm hoping it's that. Shush. Sorry. I'm hoping it's that Leslie is her daughter, but we'll see.
Yeah.
I just think that would be an amazing twist.
Um, I mean, it could be something where I don't know. I can't even comment because I couldn't think about what hasn't been done in soap opera before.
Yeah,
Hey, welcome to that. David says, "Hi guys," and then he says, "Oh Ryan." So, all right. So, Ryan, while we have you here as our guest, give us a little bit of background. Your, your soap opera fandom and what got you in soaps.
So I grew up watching soaps with my mom and my grandmothers. I think that's how a lot of us kind of got started. And it was just something that like really appealed to me. I love the idea of like this ongoing, never-ending story. And when I grew up watching the likes of Erica and Dimitri and Haley and Mateo and all of those kinds of things on All My Children, and that was one of my favorite soaps. And um, I got interested in covering soaps shortly while I was in high school, and got my first opportunity to work with soapopera network.com, and that's kind of how it all started. And 20 years later, still involved in the soap biz. So that's
Awesome.
that's how that came around. But I grew up on All My Children and General Hospital. My mom's side of the family, they were ABC soap fans. My dad's side of the family were CBS and Days of Our Lives. So I kind of grew up watching a combination of everything.
Yeah, that's awesome, and I can agree. My mother was in All My Children, One Life to Live person, and occasionally watch GH. And then I picked up on it because, quite honestly, coming from the world of being a wrestling fan, soap operas aren't a huge jump. The aspects are still the same. The storytelling, there may be a little bit more action and choreography in wrestling, but the premise is still the same. Um, so
Very much so. That's one of the things that appealed to me about wrestling. I love the over the top melodrama. I love the love triangles. I love one of my favorite storylines in wrestling was the Triple H and Stephanie romance and all of that. So, I love those kinds of things.
yeah, and then life imitated art, and then they actually did get married in real life. So it all worked out in the end for Triple. And now Triple H is basically running the company. So
Right.
um, yeah, so fantastic there. All right, so let's get into Beyond the Gates, and let's see. First of all, I got to ask, how do you feel about Keith Robinson as the new Ted? Um, I've been vocal saying I don't think he has enough gravitas like Maurice Johnson had, but that's just my opinion. Um, Give it a couple weeks. How's everybody feeling about the new Ted?
Well, I kind of said earlier in today's episode, we had the scenes between Martin and Ted. And
Mhm.
I don't know, it just kind of, I mean, I'm I think in terms of the acting, great stuff. We're seeing great. They had a good, father son chemistry, but it doesn't look like there's too much of an age difference between these two gentlemen. They're both very handsome, but I was like, wait, you're supposed to be his father? Like, I don't know. I had a little trouble seeing that today. But that said, I do think that I appreciate his chemistry with, like the scenes with Ava, every scene that he's had so far with the family and everything. I think that the chemistry is there. It's still taking a bit of an adjustment period for me just to, go from one to the other. So
Yeah, I agree. It's going to take a little while, and especially for me, to come around. But I do agree. There is a lot of chemistry there. I did like the scenes with Ted and Ava, and how Ted basically told her, he's like, I never thought for 1 minute you were the one that you know plowed down Laura or anything. I just don't understand why your mom would try to throw you under the bus. And she responded, she's like, it's not the first time, probably won't be the last time. Um, but I like how Eva almost pretty much turned the tide now, because she
Yes.
stole the helmet and then she stole the gloves. And was that to protect Leslie or was it to turn her in? That's the biggest question.
I feel like at this point she's ready to kind of fight back a little bit. You know, she knows that at this stage of the game, you know, she has to protect herself. She can't fully trust in the fact that like her mom's going to be just, you know, 100%, which just drives the point more home for me that I'm not convinced that, you know, um Ava is because I don't see how she could do this to her kid. I'm sorry. It's just it's like this is it's a little beyond the pale. It's a little bit much, and I just, you know, I feel like Ava's just kind of, she knows how things can potentially turn out, and she's got some insurance now, which I think is, I like that
Yeah.
she's kind of getting on the offensive with it.
Yeah, I get what you're. I see. I see your point about Ava and Leslie, and I just, the thing that just echoes in my head is soap opera. Just the horrible things that mothers have done to their children on soaps, and that's the thing, is that it just.
I don't know. I'm still caught up in the whole, as like we've kind of said before, the whole potential for there to be some mix up at the fertility clinic or something along the. I mean, that thread was there, and I still wonder if they're gonna, you know, try and play that card down the road at some point. If they do, they do. If they don't, they don't. But I don't know. At this stage, it's just like seeing it so like, you know, just kind of the how antagonistic everything is right now between them, and just how Ava knows, you know, so well that she could potentially get, you know, just fried in this whole thing and get in trouble. It's just, it's a lot. That's a lot from the woman that's supposed, you know, that, you know,
Yeah.
gave birth to you.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but we'll see.
Definitely. Will be fun to see.
It does make for some great, their scenes though are fantastic. I love the way those two actresses play off each other so much.
Yeah. They are.
Yeah, I've got to give it to. I've got to give it to Amber Michelle and Trisha Mann Grant. Just the way that
Trisha Mann Grant is so, the levels that she's playing with this character, and all the crazy and all the, like, even like the slight comic relief that we get from her, and the slight not necessarily knowing which way she's going to go. It's just, it's so damn entertaining. She's fantastic.
This is one of the reasons I want her to be Anita's daughter or something, because that's what keeps her here. That's what keeps her out of prison. That's what keeps her, you know, keeps her crazy with us.
Well, you know, with all of, like, you know, with all Anita's talk about, like, you'll never be a Dupree, you'll never, you know, she says all these big loaded and then you got to wonder, well, could there be something else? Could there be more there? So we'll have to see.
Yeah. But then that would make Leslie and Nicole sisters. Ooh, that would be juicy.
Oh yeah,
it would.
Well, all right. So we got a really great dream sequence almost of Martin telling off Bill.
Yes.
That was so good.
It really was. I enjoyed it. Like, I would have loved if that was, you know, if that was real, but understandable. Martin's a congressman. Can't really. I mean, on the other show, we had a congressman doing belly shots off of, you know, Hooker. But you know, on this show,
we don't judge.
Right.
We don't shame here.
On this show, though, Martin held his tongue, even though he wanted to go after Bill, and it all stems to Bill going to Smitty.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that whole thing was really well done.
So did I.
The way that everything kind of flowed into each other, because you've had this thing where Smitty clearly can tell that something is off with this husband. He loves this man. He's built a life with this man, and he knows that his husband is not okay. And so to have that scene at Orphe Jean's where, you know, he was just fighting back his emotion. I thought Mike Manning did a wonderful job holding back those tears during that scene. But it basically teed Martin off. I mean, set him off, made a beeline right for Bill. And I was not expecting it to be a fake out. Like I was like, oh my God, Martin has lost his mind. He is really going off. And then for it to all have been in his head, and it was like, wow. So you could see like he was able to keep his anger in check
Yeah.
and was like, oh, I need to make better decisions. I need to not do this. But
Yeah. But
it was such a perfectly constructed scene.
and it was
It
just
was.
everything like you wanted to hear him because I don't know, Bill and Haley, those scenes, like it's tough for me to watch them. Like I'm finding like them liking their likability. Not, I mean, the
Yeah.
actors have chemistry, but I struggle with when the two of them because I feel like their scenes are just kind of
Empty.
Yeah.
It's very much
Yeah.
Beyond the Gates' version of Drew and Willow.
Yes.
Yeah.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah.
And I I honestly I have to agree. I was really hoping it was going to be a real scene because it plays into the idea that Martin has anger issues. But he kept it in check. But Bill and Haley, and I'm kind of thinking it the other way. I really like the characters because they're the antagonists.
they are. Yeah.
they're the perfect analogy. They're the Drew and Willow of the show,
And I
and
will
I'm
say,
enjoying
yeah,
seeing Bill and Haley.
I did appreciate the scene too when Danny comes and Danny versus Haley in that kind of confrontation about. I mean, that scene was incredible. First off, between the two of them, like I
Mhm.
like seeing the two of them just those checks. That was great. Just seeing that rivalry, just seeing the two of them, and I swear the dialogue. Danny, some of Danny's, Danny slays me every time. Like her comedic timing is so great. It's like but some of that dialogue and some of like those put downs was just like this is fun. This is fun to watch. Like I just
Yeah.
like seeing the two of them just like that. So if the Bill and Haley kind of arc and them kind of bugging me leads to scenes like that and leads to further, I suppose I can put up with it. But it's just I don't know. Sometimes it's just like okay, you're just sitting there just to kind of cause you're just here to stir the pot and cause trouble. But
Like I enjoy them. I mean I think they do a good job, and you're right, they are meant to be the foils, but I think my problem lies with Haley's characterization. Is
Mhm.
she going to embrace the fact that she's Bill's wife and she's the new Mrs. Hamilton, and is now like kind of running things? She turns heel, to borrow a wrestling phrase.
Yep.
Or is she going to continue to try to like walk this middle of the road milk toast kind of thing? And
Mm,
it's like it doesn't fit her. Like you're, oh, I'm trying to be friends with Naomi. I'm trying to be friends with Chelsea.
yeah,
I know I
yeah,
stole your dad, but please forgive me. No, embrace it. Be that
Yep.
yeah.
person that
At
they
that
think you are.
point,
And I think she would excel at it.
yeah,
Or is
it is
she?
tough for like seeing like her trying to be because I mean Naomi like just being like Haley's line like oh we're celebrating and then Naomi's like well good for you and just walking away like I was just like
Yeah,
that
I
was a
know.
perfect moment I was just like I
But
yeah her trying to maintain that friend it's like no honey you go in the other direction you're not going to get that back you're not going to be able to reclaim that so
or is Haley playing a big con? Do you think that she's really pregnant?
Whew.
Do you think that she's conning Bill? We're going to see some scenes later this week of Bill having an attack at the
mm,
country club.
right
Um,
right
I'm wondering if it's going to be something similar to Tracy withholding pills from Edward, or something to that effect, where
Hmm.
Haley's like reluctant to help Bill.
I feel like they gave Danny that dialogue for a reason.
Yeah.
yeah
And
yeah
I feel like Danny called it to a T, but I feel like if it were another show, that would absolutely happen that way. But they've done a really good job of subverting expectations and
Mhm.
subverting tropes.
hmm.
So maybe she isn't faking. Maybe she is all on board, and maybe this health crisis with Bill is what causes her to lose the baby. Right?
Mhm.
It's an idea.
Yeah.
A
Totally.
friend of mine had a really good speculation, and they were like, so we keep hearing how Haley's an orphan, and she has no family, and she speculated. She said, "What if this whole thing with Bill and Haley and her kind of infiltrating the family? What if that was a setup? What
Right.
if what if she's Sharon's daughter?"
Ooh.
Oh,
Hmm.
And I was like, "Oh, that would be such a great twist." That she infiltrates Anita's family and causes, tumult for her kids down the line. But I was like, I don't know, but that's a great theory. I would love if they
yeah,
were to do something
yeah,
like that. Because at
So
least you have to
another
believe, like
theory.
Haley has to have another angle beyond just I fell in love with an inconvenient man.
yes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Right.
Yep.
And there is another theory floating out there, and David just put it in the chat that he
I've
thinks
seen that.
June looks
Yeah,
like Haley, and
I
maybe
saw that
June is
resemblance
Haley's
too.
mom.
I saw that
But then there's
resemblance
also
too.
the theory that June is the mom of Smitty and Martin's two kids,
Mhm.
because she has that picture of children, not just child, but children. So there's a
That's
lot of
also a
different
possibility.
directions they can go, with the
Yeah.
character of June, because she clearly isn't being helped by Naomi and Jacob for no reason.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. There's going to be some sort of layer there for sure. And yeah, going even back to the with Haley and just kind of giving her that sort of from the jump, just trying to. I mean, that would be a really interesting layer that they could unpack with that character versus just the kind of, as you said, her be like oh, I just fell in love with an older. It's like because that's starting to wear a little thin. It's like you gotta keep. She needs to tap into being like the full on Mrs. Bill Hamilton. Just give into that and just take over or something else. There needs to be another layer added, I think. So I'm curious to see where that's gonna go, because I do think that when she's in that antagonistic mode, like I said, those scenes with Danny those were great. Even when she was like clapping back at her and saying like, oh yeah, I absolutely did all of this, I absolutely am faking this pregnancy, and just it was such good scenes.
Yeah, I don't know why she would be faking the pregnancy is my thing.
Yeah.
It's not like, she feels like she's losing him or something like that. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I agree, Angela, but again, it kind of goes back to what Danny said when she said that in Fairmont Crest, sympathy is currency, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So if you are trying to work your way into society where everybody hates you, the best way to win them over is to make them feel sorry for you.
So fake a
So
pregnancy,
losing the baby.
miscarriage.
Fake the pregnancy, lose the pregnancy. Now you've got advocacy groups you can support. There are support groups you can support, charities you can support. Because I suffered my own miscarriage and now I know what it feels like.
Especially if she can somehow frame it as Danny's fault.
Yep.
Yep. Yeah.
So then not only does she get the sympathy, but people turn on Danny.
Yep.
Definitely.
Kind of a mastermind. Kind of a mastermind if it works out, because she said she is smart. So
well, I want her to be that. I don't want her to be this pathetic little, I just want this great, great man.
And you'd think too, because Naomi is like, I mean, she's a lawyer, and she's like, if she and Haley were like, besties, like best friends, there has to be some sort of like, she wouldn't, just be friends with just some like, twit kind of bimbo, type person. I feel like, no, Haley's, she's got some depth, she's got some smarts. I feel like they're, if they've built up that friendship. So we'll see if that kind of shakes out in the writing for her down the road.
And I'm hoping that this, like, I know a lot of people initially, like in the first couple of weeks, were like, oh, I really hope we get to see a rivalry between Naomi and Haley. No, I want to see the rivalry between Haley and Chelsea. Like, Chelsea has smoke for her. And that's where it needs to be, because Naomi's like at this whole thing where I just want to pretend she doesn't exist.
Yeah.
I don't even want to address it. Like,
But then,
but Chelsea,
Chelsea, oh, those scenes where she just is like, just standing there, the looks she was giving them, and just everything about that, Yeah. Let's have some more of that rivalry, please. That worked out really. Those were some good scenes too.
Haley had this line where she talked about having a family, and Chelsea's like, "Well, how would you know what that is? Aren't you an orphan?" And I was like, "That was such a good line."
It really was.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah.
I've thought from the beginning that Mona has a kid out there.
Mm.
And I've
Ooh.
wondered if it was Haley. Because, like, early on, like, very early, she was having that conversation with Laura, who was, when she was telling her not to rush into marriage. And, Laura was asking her about, if she was really happy never, having a kid or being married. And there was a moment where Mona kind of had that, soapy look on her face, like there's more to this story kind of thing.
That's a
Well,
good.
I love
I
Mona,
completely
so
forgot about that scene.
Do you
That's
remember
a
it
good
now,
point.
though?
Yeah.
And that's like, that's an anvil on soaps.
yeah.
I
Yeah.
like that they're expanding Mona's character now, and she's
Me
not
too.
just in the diner with Leslie and
Yeah.
the other and Jen.
Yeah.
Because if you notice, she's been helping Kat a lot with trying to out Leslie as the person hurting Laura. And I'm sorry, but I had to laugh at how much Kat wants to help, but because she's so impulsive, she ends up screwing things up. Like Jacob told her, like, you tried on the coat and you touched the receipts without gloves.
The look on
Well, if
her
I was to
face,
run this
she was
now, I'd
just
have an
like,
arrest warrant for you because your DNA is going to be all over it.
Yeah.
Right.
She
And
looks
the
so
look on her
defeated
face,
and
like,
sad.
oh,
yeah.
shit.
Yeah. I love Kat in detective mode, though. I really do. Like, I love that she's just like sunk her teeth in and is determined to get to the bottom of this. But yeah, she's not a trained detective. She's she watches true crime stuff, sure, but that's not enough to like know like change with the evidence and all of this stuff and just. But no, I appreciate her in like this. I want her to pivot from the purse design, whatever, market. I want her to pivot into like, the whole police, detective thing. I think she's very well suited
She
for
would be
that.
a good private eye.
Yep.
Yeah.
She's
Yep.
already done most of Jacob's job for him.
Yeah.
Yes.
Albeit a little clunky, but
But she's doing she's trying, and she's just, I don't know, I just like seeing her in that kind of mission mode, determined to like track everything, and just even the fact too that like she's like disclosed everything to her mom and just letting her in on the situation. And I appreciated like like all of them are just kind of like, she's cluing everybody in, and she's just all like yeah, I'm right, guys, I'm right.
But my biggest thing is, if obviously we found out that leather jacket is the same jacket that was a match for the for the person riding the motorcycle.
Yeah.
My biggest thing is Leslie that stupid to put that jacket into the the donation bin at church?
Yeah, but she's a
Or
little.
is there a deeper plan? We know that she's trying to, she's trying to put the blame on Ava. Ava has a solid alibi, but what else is Leslie going to do? She's literally thinking 5 steps ahead at this point.
True, but sometimes the smartest soap characters have to do something stupid just for the story.
Yeah.
They
Yep.
can't. They can't be completely evil geniuses.
Right.
Yeah.
Sadly.
And I think she thought that would be the easiest way to get rid of it, right?
Right.
You donate it and work it back into the community. And she just made a simple mistake of keeping the receipt in there.
Yeah.
But because she is always 5 steps ahead, she's like, oh, I'm gonna spin this to my advantage. My fear slash speculation was
Yeah.
with Eva now taking the helmet and the gloves.
Right.
If they search her room or wherever it is that she hides it, now it implicates her.
Yeah.
And I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, here you are trying to get the upper hand on your mom or your supposed mom. And then it ends up just screwing you over.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, they're setting, she's like playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers, but that like when eventually it all does come crashing down, and it will, going to be pretty epic. It's going to be like, big, sweepy, thing whenever, everything kind of falls apart for her. But it's so fun just watching her trying to like, outfox and outsmart everybody, and just she's killing it,
Yeah. I did like how Ava told Leslie, now you have to be nice to me, because I know where your helmet and motorcycle gloves are. And I had a laugh at the way that the interaction was when Leslie came there and said, somebody went into my house, and Ava's like, oh my gosh, was anything taken? Is everything okay? It's it was just hilarious, the sarcasm there, the feigning interest on Ava's part, and I'm enjoying the chemistry between those two. We said was fantastic. It's been fantastic from the very beginning. I'm anxious to see where it goes. I'm going to put it out there. I'm anxious to see where it goes. I'm enjoying the characters. Let me put it that way.
For sure.
Yeah, for sure.
And just seeing her grow more and more. I mean, even like the mirror conversations and the wig conversations and her dressing up like Nicole. I mean, getting into like, that's crossing into territory. Like she was all about like, restraining orders and stuff and order protect. Like, I think Nicole is like needs one from her, just based off the fact this woman is dressing up like her now. That is just, top tier level crazy.
Talking to the mirror,
the whole Annie Dutton.
Yeah.
She's giving Annie Dutton from Guiding Light, I think.
It is very much like Annie. It's very much like Gwen from Passions. It's, these moments.
From another planet, a little bit.
One of my favorite things on soaps is like when these characters have these, these big monologues in front of the mirror, and they're, talking either to themselves or are having conversations with themselves while dressed up. It's so camp in the best possible way.
Absolutely is. Yeah, but when she like had on like and just even like imitating, like walking around and like making fun of Nicole, I was just like, oh my goodness. Okay, just give her an Emmy right now. Let's just like,
My favorite line was the psychobabble, psychobabble, psychobabble.
Well, she is up for a Sudsy. Leslie is up for best soap villain for the Sudsy Awards coming up. The voting is open. Go to suds-media.com/Sudsy voting to place your votes for this year's Sudsy Awards, which Ryan will actually be a presenter for the Sudsies this year.
Yes, I'm very excited.
Yeah. This is the third annual Sudsy Awards. And as a matter of fact, for those of you who don't know, the Sudsy Awards were created back in 2023 because that was the year of the writer's strike. So they had to push the daytime Emmys back. We didn't have the daytime Emmys. And because, Suds and Sports Circle, there hadn't been Slammy Awards in quite a while. So we put together the Sudsy Awards in July of 2023. And it's grown and gotten better each year. So outside of the four of us who will be presenting awards, John from Chairshot Sports, Mike from The Run-In, Jesse B from The Lowdown, Julie Dove is going to be a presenter this year as well. And I'm waiting on a few other the 10th floor, can't forget them, friends of the show. They'll be Matt and Kat will be announcing a winner as well. And I did reach out to our buddy Max, who is no longer Max Updates GH. Ever since he started his wrestling career, he no longer watches General Hospital, I heard.
Oh, that's sad.
But we are going to have a good show either way. That is going to be Friday night, August 1st, 8 p.m. But for right now, the voting is open. Again, for the month of June, suds-media.com/Sudsy voting, or click on any of the links that are on our socials, because all of the videos were shared to all of our socials this weekend. All right, moving on. Let's see, where are we going to go to next? All right, might as well get them out of the way. But Ashley and Derek, they seem to be trying to start.
They were on. There we go.
basically that's what it boils down to. They were on, and they're trying to get back together, but that's pretty much it. Um,
I
let's see.
mean, trying to just, they got to get off their little, issues with Cohabitation Island, and just try and,
Yeah.
like, they got to get more, we got to see them with other, I mean, I think that, like, they've had, like, their most dynamic scenes when when they were even, like, talking about the relationship, and when, like, they're kind of, when we had Derek talking with Naomi, when we had, Ashley trying to, like, unburden herself and chat it out even with Andre, which, I'm still team Andre and Danny, personally. Like,
that really seems to be where he wants to be too. So
yeah, it's just, I have trouble now with them trying to get Ashley back in that mix, just because I've gotten so taken with Andre and Danny. It's like I didn't really give Ashley and that whole thing a second thought, even though initially when they first came on, like the elevator, birthing scene, what have you. I mean, that was like, oh, okay, I see some, but then they kind of veered away from it, and now it's just like, But I thought Derek came to life the most, like, he was like, coming to that realization through Naomi, trying to, it's like, okay, you're starting to show some signs of life and interest, and that's, but
yeah,
I don't know. It's just kind of tough because they just still feel so isolated.
They are the epitome of the she wins fast forward button.
And unless I'm curious if like they decided to twine in, like there was speculation at one point, like, Joey Armstrong, is Ashley's father, something like that maybe, or, just something to kind of, gel them more with like, and give her another layer. But at this point, who knows how that's going to shake out.
Gotta be something.
They're just there.
Paper cuts.
And so like
they're beyond the gates paper cuts.
Yes. And if I could compare them to a couple that was like featured on, a show that was starting up. If anybody remembers Sunset Beach, Ricardo and Paula, they are very much like Ricardo and Paula. They're just there, they have better scenes with other people, but like this together, it doesn't work. And I still, we're 5 episodes in.
Yeah.
We do know a lot about Ashley, but we don't know anything about Derek outside of him being Ashley's boyfriend. And I think that's
I joked that he could be replaced with like the cat or the cat that he saved, or a golden retriever, and it wouldn't really matter, make too much of a difference in terms of what we've seen at this stage.
And because they're so new, we're not invested enough in them for them to get away with being this boring.
Correct.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And like I originally was like, I get it with, the Duprees are high octane. They're, a whirlwind. You need to have some characters that are just kind of normal and quote unquote boring. But I don't mean boring in terms of boring. I just mean they're low energy. They're not as high strung as the Duprees.
Kind of like Mona, it's like Mona was kind of a fringe character, but the way that they've kind of, brought her into the, she's grounded. She's like, not going to go like, off the rails, go crazy or anything like that, but she's got that grounding presence and just, is involved in the story. And it's like, okay, cool. We can have like, or even on like Shanice or something like that, it's like, we've got like, these, she's like, she's on the periphery, but she sees everything. She knows everything. And, you can use her as like, and she's got good chemistry with, it's like, you've got these side characters that are integrated and really brought in really well. And then you have Ashley and Derek just kind of doing their, the only connection is that friend group, which then those scenes aren't even really all that. It's like, I get it. You're all the same age and you're talking about relationships, but these scenes are, not exactly the most dynamic.
Not at all. And mind you, I find Jacob and Naomi to be boring as well.
I think that they need to, there's, I remember like when they first came on, like they were like they showed like the two of them being a little like, I think they were playing with like handcuffs or something, or just
they were spicy.
you know, they I saw like a romantic, cute chemistry between the two, and it's like we don't really see that side of their relationship right now, really at all. The last time we saw
Mm-mm.
them together, it was like, you know, Tide was more prominent than anything
And
else.
and there are some things that were dangled that have come up in dialogue or have come up in plot that they haven't gone back to. So, like for instance, if you notice, they always make a point that Jacob and Naomi drink non-alcoholic beverages. Why is that?
Right.
You know, is it because they're trying to have a kid, or is it because they just don't believe in drinking, or did something happen that caused them to not do that? That's something that they
Yeah.
could reference. Whatever
Oh yeah.
happened to Jacob's corrupt partner? He hasn't been
Right.
seen in weeks. You
Yes.
know, like
That's a whole other thing too. That whole, like, you know, corrupt policing we had. You know, we saw that the cop come in who was kind of like, you know, rough around the edges guy that was kind of working with Joey, what have you, and then we had these, you know, the father who was kind of, you know, brought him in, kind of teased that out, and there was a lot of potential there, but now it's just kind of hanging out there in the dark, and we're just like, where's this piece?
And
Okay, where are these folks?
They're
Yeah,
too new for somebody to go up to the attic to find skis.
correct.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah.
And
And
they do
I do think that the best way to kind of I guess the best setup to create um drama within their relationship is because of what they represent. He's a cop, she's a defense attorney,
yeah,
you know, or she's an attorney, period. So why not do something that puts them opposite at opposite sides of an
I don't
issue?
know.
And I think that was the easiest way to do it.
I was still hoping to see some Naomi and Bill, you know, courtroom scenes where the two of them
Yeah.
were just, you
I
know,
was
that
hoping
went
for that
untapped,
too.
and that was kind of, you know, a letdown because those would
Yeah.
have made some really dynamic scenes, in my opinion.
I mean,
It
they're
seemed
doing
like
more
in
with
their
his
short.
health. They're
What was
doing
that?
more with his health. They're doing more with his health issues. So they really could have, you know, dragged that out a little bit more until something had actually happened to get her.
Right. Like she
Right. It's
collapses in court when, like, she's giving
Yes.
her
Right.
closing argument
Exactly.
or something, you know?
exactly. But I'm
Yeah,
wondering if they're going to circle back to that because of what Tomas is doing
Mm.
and breaking the
yeah,
confidentiality with those, you know, with that group of women. So maybe that's something that's going to pull her back in. Like, hey, we worked this deal out. I trusted that you were going to keep your word, and look at what you're doing. You're clearly not.
Yeah.
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 Maybe.
So, I mean, they do have a lot of strings that they could pull to go to circle back to,
Mhm.
because it does seem like the show is too new for them to really have dropped storylines. I mean, storylines are going to drop all the time because of whatever reason, but to have this many that literally were pretty hot as they go into it, and then all of a sudden they're just dead, whether it's the corrupt cop or
Yeah, they
the.
touch on it, and then you get everyone kind of all curious and excited, and then it just kind of they pivot
I
away
mean, I
from
know
that into something
they
different.
moved Joey on now to of course I'm going to
Vanessa.
Vanessa. I knew it started with a V. They moved Joey on to Vanessa, and that's been a fantastic storyline with
Mhm.
Joey, Vanessa, and Doug. And the fact that Joey could pretty much manipulate both of their vices. He's manipulating Doug in his gambling, and he's manipulating Vanessa in her sex, and just getting everything his way.
Oh yeah.
John Lindstrom is a fantastic actor. I mean, he was being I'm sorry. I don't normally say that GH ever misuses anybody, but he was being underutilized with General Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
Well, it was hard because Kevin was just the fun with John Lindstrom on GH is Ryan.
Ryan. Yeah.
That's the thing is Kevin is just not. Kevin is Derek. I mean, you know, I mean, unless he's with somebody that has fire, which Laura does not. She is also, you know, you put two good people together and they're just, okay, they're there.
Yeah. A little blah.
You know.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, with Vanessa though, and those scenes. I mean, I've always thought those two, you know, they have chemistry, and yep, they're proving it. Like we're seeing it. I appreciate, but you know, knowing that it's full on just, you know, manipulation and him playing chess while everyone else is playing checkers and just getting what he wants, and just, you know, I mean, that's why, like, when there was that speculation that Ashley was potentially, like, could be his kid or something, it's like, yeah, please, like, give her, like, that, like, street, give her that layer, give her that depth, from that character, because, she needs something to kind of, you know,
Yeah.
And there's
but,
just something so incredibly sexy about John Lindstrom.
oh,
Like
yeah.
my friends disagree with me because they're like, "Well, he's just giving old man." I was like, "No, he's giving daddy
No.
vibes. Like there's just
Exactly.
it's about the way he carries himself. Like
Oh,
he
he is a zaddy. He is.
I thought that when he was playing Craig on As the World Turns,
yes.
I thought he definitely, like, same kind of energy, and the man doesn't age either. Good Lord. I mean, he still looks exactly the same as he did when he was on that show, and that ended how many freaking years ago. But no, he's great on this. And it was kind of funny too, just seeing he's in the casino and Pamela's there too. And like Pamela's like when she was referencing like the oh yeah, he likes to cook. I follow him on Instagram.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah.
he's really excelling in this role, and I love the way that he's very like Joey is so meticulous with his and methodical with his manipulation, and he's
Mhm.
able to kind of position everything to where he wants. That's why I'm wondering what's going to be the thing that derails him from his
Mhm.
mission.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, because something's gonna happen. Because he's like he plays it so cool, and then once in a while you'll see him just kind of like just get in that like fierce like angry like dead-eyed mode,
Yeah.
and it's just like, oh, okay, yeah, you're a
Yeah,
scary dude.
that scene with Doug where he said it's time for my money back. He's like, shut
Yeah.
up. Like
Yeah.
it's time to pay up.
It would be, I mean, honestly, I think if they made Ashley his daughter and Doug found out,
Mm-hmm.
that could be
That
one, it would make her, it would just really up her,
it would elevate her character
or
a
it
lot.
would elevate her character huge.
Yes.
Like his estranged daughter doesn't have the same last name, but Doug finds out, and he's kind of in charge of her career as a
Mhm.
full-time doctor in that
That would be
hospital.
the one thing that could kind of spiral
And
him
it
out.
gives Joey a soft spot.
Because it
Right.
is kind of tough to
Every
see
bad guy
Doug
needs.
just in this place where he is just basically this man's punching bag. It's like he walks up, sees like the two of them at the bar, and he can't even do anything. He's just like,
Yeah.
this is like
Yeah.
what it's
And it
it's just frustrating to see that because in like if it was different, he would be the type to like just go and like punch this guy out or do something, and he can't. His hands are tied, and he's just so powerless, and it's just kind of it's like, damn it, like you're an addict, but like you gotta. He needs that edge. He needs something to get leverage, and that would be a great way for him to get some leverage.
Yep. Definitely he'll get the upper hand, and he can also work as an in for Joey, right? Like I could help you get to know your daughter, but you got to
Right.
do something for me.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Because otherwise, this guy's just going to be like,
Give my
cutting
debt
kidneys out of people.
Dick
for,
out of my wife.
The black market or something like that. They're going to
Right.
like find, some. Once Doug gets, full use of his like, hand back and can operate again, it's going to be like, back alley, black market organ harvesting or something like that.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah. Don't pass out. You'll wake up in an ice bath missing a kidney.
I know Derek's going to be missing a kidney.
All right. So I am absolutely loving the friendship of Danny and Pamela.
Yes.
And I like even Pamela questioned Danny, like, you laid a kiss on me in front of Bill just to get him jealous. And she's like, I didn't even know they were there. I was just trying to help you out.
Yeah.
And
no,
then
their friendship is great.
And then the way that, she's trying to talk up the guy that comes to sit with them about becoming a model and all this. And Pamela's like, yeah, this is just one of my friends. He's not a model. And Danny kind of puts her foot in her mouth with that whole scenario.
And then what did she say? Like, put my, insert entire foot of. She had like some. She had the best lines. She really does. Some of her dialogue is just like the comedic timing and the wit that you see from that character. It's just, oh, you just find it. I love it. I love it so much. But yeah, that scene was great where she's just totally just, no, this is my friend. What are you doing? But I am going to go on record still. The accent needs to fade. She needs to kind of fade out that accent, similar to the way that we lost. Dixie eventually lost her, Southern drawl. We can kind of lose this affected sort of, I don't, kind of, I don't know if she's trying to channel like some like kind of like 40s sort of like, like just, but
I
it's
said
just,
to my friend, she sounds like she's in The Great Gatsby, right?
yes, there
Like,
we are. Yes.
and but it's so. It doesn't annoy me as much as it annoys other people. I actually kind of like it because it gives like this very much like, you know, um northern, aristocratic type thing, like very much like Rhode Island, Vermont, Massachusetts sort of
Yep.
thing. And it's a way to kind of separate her from some of the other characters she's
That's
played.
true. That's true. Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
It is just. It's like there's a slight. Like, it kind of reminded me a little bit when she was playing Rosanna on As the World Turns, a little bit, but more exaggerated and more caricature than that. But I do appreciate her friendship with Danny so much, and I really want to see I love how she just looks at person. You can model. It's becoming almost like a running gag now.
Yeah.
I think that's great. But
Danny's the talent scout. She's the one that's looking for for the people to come in. I mean, hell, they wanted the bartender from the dealer from the casino.
Those were fun scenes too.
They were great scenes. And then just to come to find out, the next week, Joey and Vanessa are hooking up on the casino table.
They're so unsanitary.
I know, right? I mean, those tables are so disgusting anyway. Yeah. I would not be putting my bare ass on a poker table in a casino, especially a backroom one.
Yeah. Exactly.
Like for that casino, I mean, it's just all we've seen is that little back room. It's like, come on, show us like a
well,
nice little hotel.
It's an illegal casino. There's no slots.
That is, no flashing lights, no, slots, crazy, but
yeah.
I think one of the things I enjoy about Danny and Pamela's friendship is, you find out how much she looked after Danny when Danny was a young model. Seeing them now want to kind of pay that forward with the next generation of models, I think is the perfect perfect bridge for those things. And it sets up potential for other characters who they've talked about but haven't been introduced. Those Vanessa's twins. Maybe one of them is going to be a part of the modeling thing.
Or we even have, Samantha, who is definitely interested in that whole world, that whole life, and they haven't really. I mean, I could still see them kind of going down that road with her, where Danny tries to mentor, and that can cause some friction and tension and things like that. So, yeah. No, speaking, because right now, we just have Samantha kind of, playing matchmaker for, well, not even playing matchmaker, but just kind of looking on from afar at Tyrell and Jessica.
Jessica. But then I'm sorry, but there's got to be something there with Tyrell in the fact that he's a typical kid that gets bullied all the time and just doesn't trust that he's good enough.
It broke my heart, but I'm also just if I was Jessica, I would have done the same exact thing. It's just what are you doing, bud?
Yes.
And I like her a lot. I do think Tyrell and Jessica, I'm actually kind of invested in a teen kind of relationship with the two. I think that their chemistry is cute, I think. And I like her a lot. And I kind of like that Tyrell is that level of insecure and nervous, but also just, you kind of want to shake him and just be like, come on, guy, it's okay.
I love that scene so much because I can understand why he just kind of freaked out the way that he did, because it's it's like you're popular. I'm not. I'm a geek. I don't have friends, and your friends are bullying me. So what's the angle? Are you trying to get more information? Are you trying to set me up? And it's it's like, you were kind of frustrated because it's like, bro, what are you doing? But it's also so realistic because
Yeah.
Right.
it's like, why would you ever want to be with me? You
Yeah.
know? And he doesn't.
It's a very
I know.
natural progression given everything that, like, you know,
Yeah.
it started out with like him getting, you know, all this the crap on social media and everything like that, and now like there's this girl that's genuinely interested. I like that development. It's like that's like the most genuine sort of kind of teen relationship. I mean, the only other one I can compare it to is like with Days, with like their younger kind of teen young set, and I'm not seeing much in terms of life there, but I do appreciate.
Well, it's almost like
with
if
this,
you've ever
the way
seen
they're
the
playing it
movie,
out.
if you've ever seen the Drew Barrymore movie, Never Been Kissed,
Mm-hmm.
where she's like the nerd in high school.
That movie.
What was that?
I cannot believe you found a movie you've seen. My God.
And you know, she's a nerd in high school. She's asked to the prom or homecoming by, you know, the
Popular
the
kid.
cool kid,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
everything. So she's in her dress. The limo comes up and he throws a tomato at her, you know, just to humiliate her. And that's similar to what Tyrell feels.
Yeah.
You know, he feels there's an angle.
But you generally just kind of felt for the kid, but you're also just like, come on, guy, like she's just, you know, and it was nice being invested in a younger relationship, like a teen. Like I haven't, you know, that's just it's cool to see that on a soap and not just be just like, okay, you're just shoving these two together and then they're just gonna hook up and it's just gonna be whatever, because it's like that's like the, you know, extent of like the young and hot sort of, at least on Days that I've been seeing.
Yeah.
Ooh, what if Aunt Danny, you know, took Tyrell under her wing?
Right.
Cool. And
because he's gorgeous. He is so gorgeous. And
she
like,
did him a, you know, glam up. And
the show is so good at like just showing like, you know, the family bond, and when they have these characters interact that don't normally interact, the scenes are genuinely a treat. It's just
like Martin and Kat finally getting to interact more often. You know. Oh, and to pick up on your idea, you know, that would create tension between Tyrell and Samantha because
absolutely, because
right,
Samantha's
and
like,
it's like
my thing.
Right, and she's like, but you know, Aunt Danny offered to help you, and you turned her down.
Right.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
That would be perfect.
Yeah.
And it's and someone brought this up.
Going, wait a minute, I didn't want her to do what the hell?
Yeah. Martin will start throwing books and then just go into just start venting.
It's just like, just never you mind.
I did a space over the weekend, and someone was talking about, oh, you know, would you want Beyond the Gates to like connect to the, you know, larger CBS universe with like the Newmans and the Forresters? And at first I was like, ew, no, let's not do that. But then it kind of makes sense if Danny's going to have this modeling agency and she's going to be building up this stable of talent. It would be wonderful if not only did she provide the talent for the Forrester fashion shows, but also they walked with Chelsea Cat's, you know, accessories line. It would be the perfect way to tie it all together.
That would be a pretty cool crossover. It would introduce you to the CBS shows. I've never tapped into those before.
To Bold needs somebody who's not a Logan or a Forrester or a Spencer.
Yes.
My God.
And it gives them an opportunity to have another lawyer that they can call into town when people get into trouble. You know, Bill Hamilton serving as the attorneys for one of those big families, you know, and flying out. That's perfect.
My God. Can you imagine the two Bills?
Oh,
Bill
my goodness.
Oh, wow.
Scene. All of the BDE in that scene.
Listen, do they even have enough cameras that can reach that high? Because my goodness, that would be so good. And it would be like a way, like, remember when like Cass from Another World would like float to some of the other shows and for crossovers? That would be that's kind of cute.
Whole baby switch thing with All My Children and One Life to Live. I mean, they had like, you know, those two worlds totally collide for a bit. I mean, you know, that would be really cool. Just kind of, you know, soap, you know, multiverse.
Absolutely.
And you know why I've seen Never Been Kissed is because I'm a huge David Arquette fan. That's why I saw it.
I can't with you. I cannot believe that you have seen Never Been Kissed. The movies that this man has never seen, I have a list of them. I'm
Oh my goodness.
I just
love it.
I'm gonna need to sit with this for a few days, Ben. I'm not kidding. You have like there's a disturbance in the force. Lord.
Anywho, let's see what else we have to go over. I think we've kind of hit just about every topic.
Real quick, we got the whole articulate drama.
Oh
that kinda
yes,
came into this
that big story. So I mean, we kind of did touch on in the beginning that with Anita's big secret, but we saw a lot now that we know who Tracy and Sharon are, and just the tension. Like, I loved the scenes of them trying to hash it out. First, Tracy, where they were kind of on the same page, but Tracy did ask the hard questions. But Sharon obviously was the most hurt in that whatever happened during the breakup.
Yeah.
So now that she's back, and they had some fantastic scenes today.
Pain is such a powerful emotion.
Yes.
And despite all the things that they went through, the things that caused that sever, that fissure, that break between them is so deep, and it's more than just something that I'm sorry, or I mishandled that. Like, you know, you really have to go there. You have to try to fix that. And what I like about this is that it humanizes Anita in a way, and not in a way that makes you get sympathy for her, but in a way that knocks her off her pedestal, because she is the queen of Fairmont Crest. She is the queen of the DMV area. And so to have people who knew her from the projects back, apparently, where in the Candyman universe, because that's that place that they grew up was where Candyman first got his thing. So yeah, so it's like you're seeing her kind of be humbled a little bit and know that she's not perfect. She has done things that aren't great, and I think that makes her more of a complex character.
Definitely.
And I love it.
Just the fact that we're
Vernon
seeing her.
Know.
Just the fact that we saw her like crying, just the fact that we saw, it's like, this is the first time we've seen her like that vulnerable, that emotional, that just it's just like, oh, it broke my heart. It just like, it's, but you want to know. It's like, I loved how, like, as you said, when they were like kind of teasing out, they had it where they're kind of like tentatively talking to each other about the past, but then they really start getting into it, and they know they have to get into it, and they know they have to have that conversation. And it was just so well done, and just, parsing it out. And you just get more and more curious, like, what did she do? What the hell happened? Like, what exactly went down? And we just get little, like, kind of teasers here and there. Obviously, this Dante guy is mixed up in a lot. It's just, there's so much to unpack, and just the way that they've just kind of articulated it. Just the way that they've really just kind of gone,
Nice and there. That was I like that little work. Good job.
Yeah.
But just such dynamic scenes, so well done. And the scenes with, Tracy alone was, but then you bring Sharon into the mix. It's just like, oh boy, okay, now we're getting heavy now. What happened? When she came out with like the tangerine and the cheese, I think, like, you could tell she's just like trying so hard. She's just like, remember when? And then Sharon's just like, nope, I still can't. We're not gonna go there.
Clearly Vernon doesn't know what happened for the truth or the full story. Yeah. Because I like the tease of Sharon saying, well, I think I'm going to tell Vernon. And you see this look on Anita's face that just shows pure dread.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna make a connection. If over the last maybe week or two, through the Duprees, they have talked about, and even it was in referenced in dialogue today, with Martin revealing that he has some secrets that he hasn't told Smitty about, and they're parts of these people that they don't show to each other. I think that is a common theme within that family.
Yep.
But one of the things that I think is going to be stronger that they showcase through it is that there are people who can love you through your darkness. And Vernon is the type of man
Yeah.
who Anita can literally tell him anything, and he would be like, I don't judge you for it. I love you. We're gonna get through this.
Yeah.
And I think that's what Anita needs when this comes out, because she has been carrying so much guilt and so much of herself that she hides from Vernon, right?
Yeah.
Because she feels like she kind of has to be on. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that plays out, but it's something that affects that entire family,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah. No, Vernon is definitely just every like scene with the two of them is just like, they're the golden, they're couple goals, they're everything, and just but you can just see how, like, and he was the one that kind of, like, sparked the whole articulate, and now, like, it's starting to all come home to roost and everything like that. It's just going to create so much, but he's going to be there for her and be like her support and all of that, and it's just
Oh yeah.
I love it.
And even not knowing all the details of their breakup and the drama that's been on between them, because he respects her space.
Yeah.
I also think that, because him kind of urging her to kind of get back with them or whatnot, like he could tell that his wife misses his sister, those
Yeah.
sisters,
Right.
and
Yeah.
she
He
needs
wouldn't have
them.
pushed it if he didn't think or know that deep down this was something that she kind of had to do.
Right.
But it's so cute how he just like keeps on trying to like bring them food and just trying to, and then you're just like, Vernon, maybe you should just kind of duck out for this.
Yeah.
He's such a good husband. Like, he reminds me so much of my grandfather and my nana and my grandfather. And so whenever I see them on together, I'm just like, oh, they're so cute. I love it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The scene where I just, my favorite scene between them thus far is when they were at the piano and he's singing so poorly, but apparently they actually sing in real life really well. But
Yeah.
even so, I was just like, oh, that's just like so. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, as we look, as we keep moving on, we look forward to this, and the show in general is fantastic. It's getting its wheels, it's getting its momentum going. They were renewed for, what was it, 2 more years? So, it's going to be a great ride as we get their first. They had their first big secret come out, but as we move, I'm assuming into July sweeps, we're going to see even more and get some more secrets out. But overall, I am very happy with the way the show is going. Absolutely. I'm really.
I genuinely go through withdrawal when it's not on, or when it's a rerun, or when it's like the decide they're just good. I'm genuinely just like, no, I want to sit down with my dinner and watch my show.
Yeah.
My stories.
All right. Well, Ryan, it's been great having you on, having your analysis on here. Where can everybody find you?
So much for having me. This has been so much fun, and I can't wait to continue to support you guys' podcast. And I know there's so many, especially that Angela does.
Yeah.
so many. But I can't wait to show some more support, and I would love to come back in the future. This has been so much fun. Thank you.
We should have him on Suds one night. Talk GH with him.
Absolutely, that would be great. Yes. But where can everybody find you on socials?
My socials at Source Ryan on pretty much anything. X, Blue Sky, it's always Source Ryan.
All right, fantastic. Angela, where can everybody find you?
Brooklyn 74. Pretty much everywhere. Angela Ryan Duncan, where I'm not Brooklyn 74, pettyprado.com, and of course Parade.
All right, and Kim.
Misfit 8690 on Twitter, and then a little Misfit 52 over on YouTube. Feel free to check out my channel there for fan edits and streams of this podcast and all sorts of other fun stuff.
All right, and I, as always, I'm on Facebook and Twitter at Vinny Suds, and then you can follow the show on Twitter at Suds Media. Blue Sky is suds-media.com. And everything is whether Suds Media or Suds and Squared Circle Media, but you could go to our website, suds-media.com, for all of the information that you want. I will be starting to write more for PettyPrattle.com now that
And
this
I
is
will
finally
eventually
over.
start writing.
Listen, guys, I got the bat right here, so help me God.
now that school is finally over and I don't have to worry about that anymore, and I earned my MBA, now I'll be writing for Petty Prattle. But because there's been a lot of big news coming out of the wrestling world over the past week, so that's what I'm going to be focusing on over the next couple of days. But also go ahead. The polls are open. Go vote for the Sudsy Awards, suds-media.com/Sudsy voting, and get those votes in. You have the entire month of June. But other than that, for Ryan and Kim and Angela, I'm Vinny. We'll see you next week as we crash through those gates of Fairmount Crest. Have a good night, everybody.
Take care, everybody.
Good night.